You say. In front of Franz's extremely serious attitude, Elisia stifled a laugh that almost exploded. He would listen well. He acted like an obedient student, but in reality, he looked like a more problematic child. Elisia cleared her throat and opened her mouth. We agreed to keep it a secret, right? Correct. But because of you, it will be found out. Because of me? Franz opened his eyes in surprise and asked. He didn't seem to understand the problem at all. Elisia sighed inwardly and said gently, Isolde has been taking care of me very carefully all this time. What will she think if I suddenly tell her that this is inappropriate and that is wrong? But, Liz. Franz calmly listened to Elisia's rebuke and replied in a tone full of injustice. The towels were really rough. Ha ha ha. Elisia couldn't hold back her last laugh at Franz's defense. How rough could the imperial family's towels be? Franz looked cute explaining the towels seriously. Her fear of him one day, and her worry about making him angry, seemed like a thing of the distant past. He used to be a difficult man. But now he was just a man who loved Elisia dearly. Elisia wiped the laughter from her face and spoke with feigned seriousness. Don't you trust me? What? No, it's not. Then why worry? I will take good care of myself. This child is not only precious to you. Elisia placed her hand on her flat stomach. Franz looked at her stomach calmly and muttered, the dress looks too tight. Franz? Elisia raised her voice in surprise. Where did everything she said go? But Franz, without taking his eyes off her stomach, continued earnestly. I will call Madame Lucette to order a new dress. Franz, I'll ask for it myself when the time comes. Okay? Elisia put her hand on Franz's cheek. At her touch, he looked up at her. His golden eyes were filled with worry. What if I overlooked something and made you sad again? It won't happen. It won't happen. Elisia spoke firmly. In fact, when she first noticed signs of pregnancy, she had been a little worried. Although it was good news, she wasn't sure if she had the right to be happy about it. She didn't dare think that she would ever have the chance to be a mother again. The side effects of going back in time were only causing Franz pain. At least, that's how it seemed. But the person who had gone back in time was not Franz, but Elisia. There was no guarantee that the magic of time travel had not affected her. Elisia thought that not getting pregnant might be the price of returning. She tried to accept this bitter conclusion with humility. In her second life, she understood Franz, punished those who caused her to lose her child, and finally found happiness. She thought that complaining that this happiness was incomplete was a spoiled complaint. So when her period was late, she didn't immediately think she was pregnant. She attributed her increased sleep and feeling of laziness after returning from Ambrose to travel fatigue. But when she felt sick from the potato soup for breakfast, she felt something different. The feeling she had when she became pregnant with her first child. The feeling that her body was no longer hers, but this discomfort was not entirely unpleasant, returned. When the thought occurred to her that she might be pregnant, Elisia felt both excited and anxious at the same time. So she didn't call the palace doctor, but looked for Aaron first. If she was already pregnant. Before the celebration, there was something she wanted to make sure of. Could going back in time negatively affect the baby, and could she give birth naturally? Aaron listened to Elisia and took a few drops of her blood from her finger. When he returned to the reception room after going to the magic tower, saying that he would check carefully, Elisia felt as if her heart would stop. But her round calmed her anxiety with his smile. How welcoming his bright smile was. When she received congratulations in Franz's presence, she felt indescribably happy. Because she had not received such a blessing when she became pregnant with her first child. So she understood why Franz was excited. In her previous life's pregnancy, he received news of the miscarriage before learning of Elisia's pregnancy. But she didn't expect it to cause such a stir. "What worries me is you, Franz," Elisia said in a serious tone, crossing her arms. "Will you also act like this at dinner with His Majesty the Emperor?" "No," Franz answered with a serious face. But Elisia knew his answer was just words. Even as they talked, he seemed busy observing her features. "No way." Elisia finally sighed. She knew very well why he was acting like this, so she couldn't scold him further. Elisia said half-surrenderingly, "Treat me like normal." "That's enough." "Yes, I will." Franz smiled warmly and answered in a gentle tone. Faced with his attitude, like someone dealing with the most precious person in the world, Elisia couldn't help but smile. Even if Franz was a little exaggerated, so what? If this was his way of expressing love, it wasn't bad. At dinner with the Emperor, Elisia deeply regretted it again. How had she thought Franz's exaggeration was acceptable? It was her mistake to assume he would not show it to the Emperor. Elisia grabbed Franz's arm as he tried to take her plate. "I'll cut it into small pieces. I can do it myself." "Yes, I know." Franz smiled cheerfully and began cutting Elisia's steak. Elisia looked at the Emperor warily, feeling anxious. "Your Majesty. What's wrong?" The Emperor, who was eating the steak, stopped and asked when he noticed Elisia's look. He seemed to notice nothing strange in Franz's behavior. "Nothing, I just thought we should decorate the dining hall with flowers other than peonies." Elisia quickly brought up another topic. There was no need to arouse the Emperor's suspicions without reason. The Emperor frowned at Elisia's suggestion and then opened his mouth. "Really? I don't care about such things. What flower do you like, Crown Princess? Tell me your favorite spring flower, and I will make it used for decoration." "I prefer the flowers your Majesty likes." "Haha. Then I should think more." The Emperor laughed heartily at Elisia's kind answer. While they were talking, Franz was busy cutting meat. But what does the Crown Prince do without eating? Does he intend to feed the birds? When the Emperor asked about the meat being cut into bite-sized pieces, Franz put down the knife. After he finished cutting the meat, he placed the plate in front of Elisia with a calm face. If the Crown Princess were a bird, it might be bird feed. "Oh, my God." The Emperor winced at the answer that silenced the others. While he was very kind and friendly with the Crown Princess, he was still ice-cold with others. Although this was his nature, seeing him act like a different person with the Crown Princess made the Emperor, as a father, feel a little dissatisfied. If the Crown Princess is a bird, that's a problem. If she flies away, wouldn't it be a great loss to the imperial family? On the other hand, Elisia, who had changed Franz, looked great. Not only did she adeptly manage the palace's internal affairs as the Crown Princess, but she had also captured Franz's heart and even completed the soul bond, making her an ideal daughter-in-law. "No kidding, Your Majesty." Elisia smiled shyly and lowered her eyes. In her previous life, she had never had the opportunity to speak with the Emperor, so she did not know that he not only possessed the prestige of the imperial son but also the virtue of kindness. Crichton's gentle style may have been an emulation of that of the Emperor. "I'll put up the decorations." In a friendly atmosphere, a servant approached carrying a plate. Elisia smiled as she watched the server place grilled asparagus and cabbage sprouts on her plate. "How many mashed potatoes do you want?" When another servant approached, Elisia's face frowned.